All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Jenna Wood, and I am a registered dietitian here with the Giant Company. If you are new to our classes, welcome. If you're a returning customer, welcome back. Today's class runs a little differently than our other style classes. We're going to do a very deep dive into a particular brand, and then hopefully we'll have time for a very quick recipe at the end. Today's feature, which you've heard us kind of pepper in through, especially our produce classes this month, uh, Little Leaf Farms. So we're going to get into them more in detail today. I just thought these pictures were so pretty, like the beets. I am a huge beet fan, so that just looks so delicious. Let us keep going. And this was the picture we had if you joined us this morning in our circular, our dietitian's pick, of course, with little leaf lettuce. And Stephanie here said, by far the best lettuce we have ever eaten. Now, I do believe I have to stop sharing for a second for our video to make sure that the audio works. And of course, make sure if you have any questions throughout for today, you drop those in the Q&A box here. All right, here we go. Sharing the sound. Hopefully this will. I hadn't shared a video in a while, so. Alrighty. Let's see. Okay, I thought that was a nice video to get us started. But let me reshare so we can keep going. Nope, clicked on the page. Not what I wanted. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's do a little bit of information about Little Leaf Farms' background. So they're still a fairly new company. So if they're new to you, I'd love to hear, what you think of them when you do try them. But so they were founded back in 2016 by Paul. I'm going to mess up his last name, so I'm not going to say it. But he is a Cornell-educated entrepreneur who specialized in sustainable agribusiness. So that was a big impetus to why he wanted to start a company related to lettuce because there are other produce categories out there that have improved with sustainability, but he found that lettuce had not quite gotten there, especially, you want to consider sustainability, but you also want the product to be really good. And I think they have figured it out. He also was joined by Tim Cuniff, who was a seasoned produce sales executive. So them together wanted to start Little Leaf Farms. They're headquartered up in Massachusetts, but fortunately for us here down in Pennsylvania, they did add, I believe in 2022, a state-of-the-art greenhouse in McAdoo, which is in Schuylkill County. I did look it up near, I think, Hazleton. And there's over 40 acres of greenhouses in this area. So Little Leaf Farms, and one of the best pieces about it is they deliver all of their baby little greens within 24 hours of being harvested. So not only are they going to be fresher, they're local, so that's within 100 miles of me and many of the people on the call today, but it's also going to be better for the environment, for our planet, since they don't have to travel thousands of miles because most lettuces are grown in California and Arizona, which is not anywhere near us. And using these greenhouse technologies, and I'll show you some photos, and you saw in the video, they can produce and grow sustainably farmed lettuce 365. And, whether it's winter, it doesn't matter. They're able to grow this really nice lettuce. And we do have links, of course, on all of our slides if you want to learn more. Oh my goodness. Okay, this is just an aerial view of the greenhouses in McAdoo. So you could just see like how massive these are, uh, which I just think is so phenomenal. Now, you kind of heard us talk in Produce Spotlights about the Clean from the Start initiative. So this is basically the fact that they are a hands-free growing system, ecosystem, if you will. So they specifically designed these leaves. So they talk about on their website, like, can we buy your seeds? No, because they are specifically designed to grow in this greenhouse environment to be seeded, grown, cut, and packaged without ever being touched by human hands. They also then don't have to be triple washed or washed in any type of chemicals or anything like that because they've never been touched. They are just grown in this environment. Additionally, I think clean has, a wide array of definitions, but I also wanted to throw in that all of their containers, so all of the, whether it's the 4 ounce, the 8 ounce, the salad kits, they are made from fully recyclable packaging that's already been recycled packaging. So the post-consumer recycled PET, so, but you can recycle it again. They are also on their website talk about actively exploring other packaging options. It's difficult to find other types of packaging that, will hold the product as nicely, will ship as nicely. So, but they are working on that as well. And you can kind of see here just part of the hands-free system from seed planting to packaging and all the way to your local Giant or Martin's. So I think this is just so cool. They don't do tours, so that's one of their FAQs on the website. Obviously, they want to keep it nice and clean on the inside. Again, just another beautiful picture. You can kind of see like the red leaf lettuce. I don't know, I think it's nice and pretty. You can kind of see all of, the irrigation and things that are happening here, which leads us to our next topic, because that's a very important piece when it comes to sustainability and safety and everything like that. So I don't know. Personally, I'm a little confused about this statement. They do talk about the Little Leaf Farms greens being grown hydroponically, which means without soil. However, in some of the videos, I feel like I see soil. So I don't know if it maybe depends on the facility, but they're not growing in traditional medium, like you're not planting them in the soil outside. And they utilize various fertilizers, but they don't use pesticides. So they do need to provide nutrients to these plants, um, but whether it's hydroponically or in some type of medium. And what I think is so fascinating is that it is definitely a more sustainable system in these greenhouses because they can irrigate their lettuce 95% more efficiently than lettuce that would be grown out in a field because they deliver the water directly to the root system. So there's no water wasted in the process. In addition, it produces a higher quality lettuce because you're not spraying the water on top of the leaves, which can further, make the lettuce go bad faster. And you don't want the water there. That's not where the water's needed. We want the water at the roots. So another really great reason for this system. And predominantly, most of their water is sourced from their own roof. So they're able to utilize that water. They collect 100% of that rainfall. And here in Pennsylvania, we've gotten a lot of rain the last couple weeks. So hopefully they are utilizing that water. They're sanitizing it with UV lights. So it is sanitized because rain, obviously, we know there can be compounds in it. And then they use that water for irrigation. Of course, they do have to sometimes rely on some groundwater when there's severe drought conditions, but their preference obviously is to rely on that rainwater. And any excess water is recycled back through that filtration system so they can keep using this nice clean water. Another really great graphic I wanted to show, I'm not going to hold it up here for too long because I will send out the slides, but again, just from sustainability pieces, they're using sunlight. And of course, times of the year where we don't get as much sunlight, they do use some UV light LEDs as well. They're traveling fewer miles to get to your Giant or Martin's within 24 hours of being picked. No harmful chemicals, pesticides, anything like that. They do use some ladybugs and other insects to try to control any pests that might be there, but definitely nothing like you would find outdoors in a field-grown facility. Now, this was something when I was looking into Little Leaf Farms and following them on social media. This was a campaign that I thought was really fun. So they have the lettuce confessions. And so they did some market research and surveys of Americans, and they found that 60% of US lettuce buyers, so people who are buying lettuce regularly, admit that their greens spoil before they can use them. I mean, raise your hand if you've ever bought a bag of spring mix and you had the best intentions, but it went bad in the fridge, and that does not smell great. So, nearly a quarter of those people say it happens often or almost every time they buy it. It's definitely like a running joke. Not that we want to joke about food waste, but it happens. People claim it's either forgetfulness, which valid, forgetfulness, or, the lettuce goes bad quickly before they can use it. Here at Giant, we're always telling, when we're talking about meal planning and things, trying to utilize those fresh greens and things beginning of the week, like right after you buy them. But, sometimes we forget or we don't plan. Nearly 40% of food that's wasted here in this country is produce, so fresh fruits and vegetables, things like leafy greens. Ooh. And Little Leaf Farms, so one of their missions is to help you turn over a new leaf when it comes to eating greens. And one of the biggest pieces is they're being delivered really quickly after being harvested. So they're going to be high quality. You're going to want to eat them. You're going to be excited to eat them because everyone has the best intentions. They want to eat a salad, but maybe you just don't. So what's really fun, they do have, I'll share the link. I think it's still going on. I did it this morning, so it still worked for me. They have a little competition contest going on. You can confess why you're not eating your greens before they go bad, and you'll be entered into a giveaway. And I do believe in the email, you'll get a coupon. So very nice to do that. And they're donating, I don't remember to whom, but they are donating for every confession they receive too. So let us get into the actual products here at the Giant Company. So we have such a wide variety. And of course, you're going to find this in the refrigerated produce section of your local Giant or Martin's. The 4-ounce containers are the ones that are on sale and that we are promoting here in our classes, Produce Spotlight and Feature Friday. So many varieties. I've now tried, I want to say 4 of them, and I'm going to try another today with our baby spring mix. My personal favorite's going to be I think the baby crispy green. So that one's just so perfect. But you'll also see, like we talked about this morning, a call out in our circular as well. Truly straight from your dietitian's carts. And of course, availability, the variety you'll see in your stores may vary, of course. And they do carry bigger 8-ounce containers and the salad kits, which I am a very big fan of as well. Now, in terms of nutrition, I do have a slide that kind of just talks about them in general because they're leafy greens. They're going to be very similar in nutrition, but I did just want to showcase the differences. Of course, they're each going to earn 3 guiding stars because they're little leaf lettuces. And you can see just from their packaging, it's very beautiful. It talks about being greenhouse grown, no need to wash. Truly, we don't recommend doing it. They're grown the way they are. They're pesticide, herbicide, fungicide free, very crispy, especially this variety here. Oh, goodness, I'm clicking too fast today. The sweet and crispy as well. So I believe this is what I used on Tuesday. So it's a combination of that baby butter leaf and the crispy green, which was my favorite. So that was a really nice one because it had that balance of flavor and texture. This is the one I'm using today, the baby spring mix. So this is a combination, I'm going to read it, of green leaf lettuce, red leaf lettuce, arugula, and mizuna, I want to say. It does say ingredients can vary, so it might be a, different portion of those greens in any time, but that's what their baby spring mix is made of. Of course, then they have the sweet baby butter leaf. These are great to make like lettuce wraps and different things. Definitely the sweetest and just the most like tender, I would say. And then the combination of the baby red and green. So really kind of whatever suits your fancy, whatever variety you like, they got it for you. In terms of nutrition, so calling out the 4-ounce containers, for me, like this is a portion, like this is how much lettuce I'm going to eat by myself. So that's why I'm calling that out here. Of course, you can make it into two salads. I wouldn't do more than that necessarily. We want you to eat your leafy greens, and they are very low calorie. So anywhere from, I want to say one of them was like 15 to like 25 calories per 4-ounce serving. All of the Little Leaf Farms leafy greens are going to be a good source of vitamin A and manganese, which is a very important, essential nutrient we need in small quantities. We can't produce it. Important for absorbing various nutrients from other foods as well, and for, I want to say, our can't remember what else. There are so many nutrients out there, but that is an important one, an essential nutrient we can't get otherwise. Their spring mix, the one we're using today, is also a good source of vitamin C and potassium. Now, they're not going to be incredibly high in fiber. That's not what this type of leafy green really is. They have 1 gram of fiber per 4-ounce serving, but it's a great bed, of course, to put other high fiber foods on. So, like today, we're going to have avocado on our salad and some radishes. So you can add fiber in other ways as well. And again, they're salad kits from really a nutrition perspective, totally. The sodium's not bad. I think some of them have a little saturated fat like the Caesar, but they're really quite nice. So definitely check them out. Oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I don't know what my fingers are doing. All right. So in terms of recipes, we are showing you, I believe, at least 5 different salads you can make from their website. But there are so many more options. You know, I love a good recipe database on a website, so they've got a ton of great options and just fun ways to use their lettuces that you can check out on their website. And I do have the link here as well. What are some other ways you can enjoy them? Like, obviously, we're going to recommend you eat them as a salad. Definitely the easiest way. I think I have mentioned before, when I'm not doing it for class, I will make the salad right in the container. So I do not have to wash dishes. I will give it a rinse so I can recycle it, but a salad is the easiest way to go. Of course, especially things like the butter leaf, which is such a nice size. You could put it on a burger, on a sandwich. This would be great, like on a BLT in a wrap or a spring roll. Oof, that would be so fantastic. I'm also thinking like a chicken Caesar wrap. That would be fantastic. I think I'm making spring rolls next month, and that would be great lettuce in there because, again, they're baby lettuce, so they're much more tender and flavorful than maybe bigger lettuces. In grain bowls, on a pizza like you see here. I love salad on pizza or salad with pizza, but something about adding some salad on top of a pizza is really good. And I believe they have that recipe on their website. Lettuce cups. So again, with the butter leaf lettuce, making lettuce cups, which I think Charlotte might be making, but they definitely have a recipe for that on their website as well. And then this is something so strange. I don't know if any of you have heard of this, but this is a trend that's been going around at least on TikTok and other places on the internet. And it's called dinosaur or dino time, where I think this one girl started it. But literally, she just wanted to eat more leafy greens and just, like their survey showed, not a lot of people are doing it for whatever reason. So she recommended, and what she does is she literally takes the leafy green veggies and shoves them in her mouth and eats them and munches on them as if she were a dinosaur. And I think it could be a fun way to get kids to eat more veggies or try them, especially kids that love dinosaurs. Being careful, of course, with choking hazards. You don't want to do anything scary, but dinosaur time is a thing out there on social media right now, and it is something you could do with these greens. However, they are so delicious. I wouldn't want you to eat them and not enjoy them, but it's just another thing, another way to eat them. All right, so some FAQs from their website, and there are more, so you can click on the FAQ to get more answers to different questions. But I thought one that was important and that had been asked on their website is, will you ever grow other types of produce? You're doing this so well and sustainably. What else could you be growing in the greenhouses? So as I mentioned, like with the seeds, the growing conditions that they have right now are unique to the leafy greens. Other varietals will definitely have a hard time growing in that particular system. They get tons of requests for other types of leafy greens, and they hope to expand one day. But right now, they're going to stay with what they have tried and true. Because I would love some spinach, but I will wait. I'll be patient. So how should I store the little leaf lettuce? So little leaf lettuce will stay fresh as it's supposed to in your fridge for about 2 or so weeks if properly stored, preferably either in your veggie crisper or something like that. Make sure you are putting it in your fridge the second you get home from the Giant or Martin's and keep it in its original container. This was not on their website. I mean, again, for the 4 ounce container, I'm eating the whole thing in one serving. I'm not going to have any left. But for the bigger containers, often what I will do is put a paper towel sometimes in there, just absorb any excess liquid, moisture that's coming off of them if I'm not eating it right away, and then changing that if it gets very wet. And then another important question, which I also linked to the answer because it's much more in depth, but is your lettuce organic? And no, their lettuce is not certified organic, which is a whole thing in and of itself. But they truly believe and show that their growing practices are on par, if not go beyond what organic is. So while they're not technically certified, and technically some of the fertilizers they use are not organic all the time, um, they're not technically, but they never use any pesticides. That's not part of their system. They're using, the friendly bugs and things like that. So certainly they're following a lot of practices, but they just cannot and have not gone through that process. But you can read, it's a very detailed, great answer. So if that's something you're interested, definitely click that link to learn more. All right. I know you heard from our team, me especially, that, these are really fun, great texture tasting leaves. But what are other people saying about Little Leaf Farms? So this one person said, this is my top lettuce. I love how it's crisp and lasts a while in the fridge. It makes me look forward to eating a salad, which is great. That's our goal. All of the Little Leaf Farms products are outstanding. The products are fresh, crisp, and delightful. It adds to the convenience at dinner or lunchtime. It makes a wonderful salad. This one I thought was hilarious, and I copied it verbatim with the smiley faces. But I sometimes eat it out of the container like popcorn at night watching TV. I mean, more power to them. I think that sounds fun. This product lasts until its expiration date. That is a good statement because you know what? Some things don't. You won't find any slimy lettuce pieces in these containers. The lettuce has a great texture and flavor. I only wish they came in more varieties. So that's a good comment, like they love it so much they want more. And then I thought this one was great to wrap up. I ordered Little Leaf for the first time with my last delivery. The expiration was only 2 days away, so they were concerned it was going to be soggy. However, it was fresh, crisp, and just about perfect. They bought a larger size the next time, and they're very happy with the quality. They're glad they decided to try it. If you eat salad, this is worth every dime. So I thought that was a nice one. Okay. I always talk about, follow the brands you like on social media for lots of reasons. But they have a really great social media page, especially with those confessions that they're talking about. A girl I really like on Instagram and social media, Elise Myers, was in one of their ads recently, and it was a very funny video about the confessions. So again, I recommend following any brands you like on whatever social media you follow, but theirs is really cute. Okay, we are going to wrap up with our recipe. I do have plenty of time, fortunately. So this recipe is an avocado sunshine salad with green goddess dressing. It's a lot of stuff. So the picture here, you can kind of see the lettuce itself. Of course, we're using the Little Leaf Farms Baby Spring Mix. You can use any of them. They all would work. Then on top, we're going to add some avocado, some watermelon radish, which I'll show you. It is beautiful, and a medium orange. I will say when I kind of look at this picture, though, it almost looks like there's grapefruit, which I do still have grapefruit. So you certainly could do any citrus you want to do. And then the dressing. So if you have never made a green goddess dressing, I did actually Google it before we got started because there are a lot of variations on green goddess dressings. It really, there is a specific one that like was started out in San Francisco, but any variation is going to be some type of creamy sauce, whether it's yogurt for this recipe. I think traditionally they use mayo, and then a ton of greens. So this one has parsley, dill, and mint, but also some avocado, which is very common in a green goddess dressing. We're going to add some garlic, some Dijon, and olive oil like you would for any dressing, some lemon juice, salt, and pepper. And then we're just gonna combine it all together. So let me stop sharing. Make sure I can see our recipe here. Okay, let's go. All right. So I'm not going to have a second camera today, just making the salad. I will show you all of the steps. But I did already slice our watermelon radish. So I do want to show you the watermelon radish here. So they're not very beautiful. They're kind of boring. They look like a radish. However, look, this one's so tiny. From the outside, you'd be like, why is that called a watermelon? Like, there's nothing special. Well, I washed it or rinsed it off and peeled it. And then when you cut it in half, I'm telling you, if you've never tried it, it is so beautiful. Like, oh my gosh, talk about eating the rainbow. Like, that is just so gorgeous. Of course, inside is that pink color. Outside is almost kind of like the rind of a watermelon where it is slightly green. But yeah, so perfect. So I already sliced them thin and put them on the salad. So I'll show you that in a moment. We are using the Little Leaf Farms baby spring mix. So that's already in my bowl as well. But let us make our dressing. So into a blender, food processor, whatever you got, we are going to do a cup of Greek yogurt. So I will show you that here. There we go. This is going to make a mess. Okay. So we have a cup right in there. And I'm just using our giant Greek non-fat yogurt. You could do any, you want it to be plain. Obviously, you would not want a vanilla or something for this. Then we are going to do a teaspoon, I believe, yes, a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. I was going to measure it, but you know what? I'm just going to eyeball it. Came right out. Okay. There we go. So a teaspoon there. And then we are going to do, what else? The 2 cloves of crushed garlic. You can crush it, you know, it's going to be crushed in here anyway, but I did kind of just with the side of my knife crush it a little bit. Okay. We're going to do 2 tablespoons, I believe, of fresh lemons. So these were those seedless lemons I think I used on Tuesday. So I'm just going to squeeze that in here. I love lemon juice, so I might do a little bit more or save a little bit on the side just in case it's not thin enough. That's about 2 tablespoons there. Okay. Then we are going to do, it calls for a quarter of an avocado. My avocado is super, super tiny. Ooh. So I'm going to probably do most of this, but just, you know, your avocado. There's also going to be avocado on the salad. So the avocado was small. So it calls for about like a medium, I think, on the salad. So then where we're getting the greens, so we need a half a cup of fresh parsley. You could do flat leaf, curly, doesn't matter. Half a cup of fresh dill, and then a quarter cup of fresh mint. I did already give that a rinse. You can kind of see all of them in here. So I'm going to stick this in here and hope for the best. This is going to be, it's going to be beautiful and very green, hence the name. Okay, shove that in there. Then I'm going to do the olive oil. So it calls for a quarter cup of extra virgin olive oil. So I did already measure that out. So pour that right in here. You might need a spatula handy to just kind of push it around depending on your blender. I probably will for mine. A crack of pepper. I think you can also crack some pepper on the salad itself. Okay. And then I am going to do just a touch of salt, just our kosher salt to blend all those flavors together. But I believe that is it. So I'm going to pop my blender bottle on there and hopefully I can get this to blend. Okay. I will show you. Hopefully I can hold it and do it at the same time. It's starting to work. It almost looks like one of those like dual layer smoothies. I'm just going to take a spatula, push it down a little bit, mix it all together. I know we're right at time. So I'm just going to drizzle this on the salad and show you. I do just want to get all of it together. Oh, I mean, look how beautiful that is. I'm going to blend it. It is on the thicker side. So depending, I might just add a little bit more lemon juice because I want it to be a little bit runnier. But what's really great, this is going to make way more dressing than you need for the salad. So the recipe actually recommends reserving some. It'd be great to dip veggies in. So you have excess of the watermelon radish. You can dip that in there, peppers, whatever you have. Okay, looks good enough to me. But then, I love this thing. Okay, so I'm gonna take a spoon. It just smells so fresh. All right, and I'm gonna drizzle it. I'm not very good at drizzling, but I will show you the final product. Come on. Okay. Big thing. Look how beautiful. Look at all those colors. So we have obviously the Little Leaf Farms lettuce on the bottom, the spring mix, the watermelon radishes, the avocado, the oranges. I said watermelon radish, and that green goddess dressing right on top. Smells amazing. And I've got so much dressing left to eat however else I want to. But I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I will send a picture because that probably didn't do it justice how beautiful it looks. But I thank you for joining me today, learning more about Little Leaf Farms. And please continue watching all of the produce spotlight classes we have. Like we have two more, just showcasing some other salads you can make with them to hopefully inspire you to make more salads and let go of some of those lettuce confessions, right? Awesome. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next time.